Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about break glass accounts in Microsoft Entra ID. Break glass accounts are sometimes also called as emergency access accounts. And the reason why those accounts are called emergency access accounts is because those accounts allow you to access your environment when you lose access with your normal regular accounts, administrator accounts. It's very important to have break glass accounts created in your environment. And there are primarily two reasons for having break glass accounts created. One reason is some failure or outage on Microsoft side. Because there have been situations where some services or service dependencies were not available. For example, imagine that push notifications will stop working. Then it means that probably you will not be able to authenticate to your regular administrator accounts. Or SMS or phone calls, if you still use it, which you shouldn't, but if you still use it, there might be an outage and SMS and phone calls will not work. So one reason is some outage or issue on Microsoft side. But the other reason, which is in my opinion even more important, is a configuration or misconfiguration on your side. And I've been in many situations where I myself or some of my customers configured too strict restrictions in their environment that they were not able to use their regular administrator accounts. And this is even more important reason in my opinion, because technical issues on Microsoft sites are extremely rare. I remember one outage that affected multi-factor authentication. It happened years ago. I don't remember anything else, honestly. I'm not saying that nothing else happened, but I don't remember anything else. At least I haven't seen it. I haven't faced it. So maybe there was some super short, small issue or partial issue or something. But I haven't faced it. On the other hand, like I've said, I have seen this happening multiple times when some misconfiguration happened. So when you create a new conditional access policy, you aim to put as strict restrictions as possible, and then you realize that you locked yourself out. And this is the primary reason for me for creating break glass accounts. So I always have a way how to get back to the environment and get back control over my environment without going through the painful process of contacting the support and proving that I'm really the owner of the tenant. So that's the primary goal for me, the primary motivation for me for having break glass accounts. So I don't lock myself out. I always have a way, plan B, on how to get control back. There are some general recommendations about break glass accounts, and then there are some things that you should always do, no matter who you are, how big is your organization, what type of organization it is. So sometimes there might be multiple ways how you can do it, but sometimes there is only one right way. So let's create break glass accounts. Let's start with creating break glass accounts. Break glass accounts are always cloud-only accounts. Such accounts should never be synchronized from your on-prem Active Directory. Never. These break glass accounts should always be created on the default on Microsoft.com domain. Never ever use your own custom domain, let alone when the domain is federated. Always use the on Microsoft.com domain. This is extremely important. So you create a break glass account on the on Microsoft.com domain. The first question is how to name the account. And here we get to the different opinions. So even the cybersecurity experts have different opinions on this. I think both, or there are multiple ways how you can do it, and there is no specifically right way how to name your break glass accounts. You can name it simply like BG1, BG2, BG3, or you can even generate the username for break glass accounts. In the past, break glass accounts, when you needed to use a break glass account, you had to type in your username and password. That's not the case any longer, or shouldn't be the case any longer, and I will get back to it. So now, in my opinion, it's absolutely fine, and actually it's a pretty good idea if you generate a random name for the account. But there is one practical thing that I would recommend you doing, and that is you should always know from the name, I mean user principal name or display name, that it is a break glass account. It should be clearly visible from the name or display name, user principal name or display name. The reason for that is that you know what it is. When you are, for example, reviewing the global administrators in your organization, you know that this is the break glass account. If you are reviewing memberships of other groups or roles, if you are reviewing, I don't know, sign-in attempts or group memberships, you should always clearly know that it is a break glass account. So for instance, to display name, I usually put something like BG, break glass, emergency, something like that. So I clearly see that this account is the break glass account in my environment. So I will do probably something like BG1 here, BG here. All accounts in Microsoft Entra ID must have a password. By default, the password is auto-generated, as you can see here, or you can type in your own password. But either way, during first sign-in, you are asked to change the password. So in my opinion, it doesn't much matter how strong the password is or what's actually generated or created for the account when you are creating the account, because you will have to change it anyway. So I can keep the default generated password. Then the important part is the assignments. But let's talk about the overall process. So now I'm creating a new account. Because now the account is not secured yet. It's not technically a break glass account yet. It shouldn't have any role assigned yet. So I would create the account as it is now. So I will simply go and create. Now the account is created. The next step you do is you sign in to the account with the provided username and password. You change the password and you enroll FIDO2 token on it. And here we get to how to secure break glass accounts. Because in general, the break glass accounts must be secured, but must always allow you to use the account. And this used to be kind of tricky in the past, before the phishing resistant authentication methods have been introduced. Because before that, you had to use the username and password, and that was the only security measurement on break glass accounts. Because you didn't want to have any service dependencies on your break glass account, which technically mean that you cannot use any of the standard MFA methods, because push notifications can have outage, in general, the multi-factor authentication can have outage. So there was no way how to use MFA and don't have any service dependencies. It's not the case any longer. With phishing-resistant authentication with FIDO2, there are no service dependencies. FIDO2 doesn't have any service dependencies at all. So you can use FIDO2 authentication for your break glass accounts and still follow the general guideline to not have any service dependencies in place. So back to the process. Now you have the account created. The account is not yet privileged. It's not yet excluded from any conditional access policies. You sign into the account with the username and password. You are asked to change the password. And then the very next thing you do is you enroll FIDO2 authentication. For FIDO2, it always must be hardware key, a dedicated hardware key. Never use passkeys, never use any form of software keys, and never use any form of shared hardware key. So it always should be one hardware key for one account. The hardware key will not hold any other accounts, nor break glass, nor your regular accounts. So one break glass account per one hardware key. When you finish enrolling FIDO2, you change the password again for the account, because now you don't have to you don't need the password any longer because you have FIDO2 enrolled. So you change the password for the account. You generate some crazy strong password. Microsoft Entra ID supports password of up to 256 characters long. So generate something that's 100 characters long or even 200 characters long, something like that. It must be randomly generated. It also should include special characters, everything in it. And the key point is that you generate a password, you set the password for the account, and then you throw the password away. You do not store the password in any form, anyway. Just generate it, use it for the account, and throw it away. Because you don't need a password. You have FIDO2 enrolled for the account. So now the account is secured. The next step is to make the account a global admin. So I just refresh it here, open the break glass account, and now I will make the account a global administrator. So I'll go to assigned roles, and I will add an active assignment here. It's very important that break glass accounts are not under privileged identity management. So even if you have P2 licenses in your tenant, and even if your normal regular user accounts with your global administrator role are assigned either eligible or permanent through PIM, break glass accounts should not be assigned through PIM. So break glass account roles should be always assigned directly on the account. So I would just go here, search role, global administrator. Now it's getting the role details, and the assignment is active and permanently assigned. I put justification here. You should probably do something like break glass account assign. Okay. Now the role is assigned. Now the next step would be to exclude this user account from all conditional access policies. So you would simply go to your existing conditional access policies and put the user here. So I have one already here. I will add the other one as well. So now I have two break glass accounts excluded. You do this for all conditional access policies, literally all. Break glass accounts should be always excluded from all conditional access policies, always, which means it should be automatically part of your standard process of managing or creating conditional access policies. What I mean is that whenever you create a new conditional access policy, so you go here, create new policy, you automatically always exclude your break glass accounts here. You should never create a conditional access policy that doesn't have all break glass accounts excluded. Even if you are creating a conditional access policy that will be in the off state for now, always automatically exclude all break glass accounts. No matter if you create or manage your conditional access policies manually from the Entra admin portal, or if you manage or create conditional access policies as a code using GitHub, or Azure DevOps, or anything else, always have it part of the standard process that break glass accounts are always excluded automatically from all conditional access policies. Now, back to the question of how to actually exclude the break glass accounts. If you have multiple break glass accounts, maybe you ask yourself, and there are actually a lot of discussions over the internet, also in the cybersecurity admin community, between people that know really what they are talking about. Some people say it's fine if you put break glass accounts into a group and then you exclude a group, because it makes your life easier in terms of the exclusion management. There is one group excluded and that's all. It makes it easier, especially if you have multiple break glass accounts. But on the other hand, there are people that say that you should always exclude your break glass accounts individually from conditional access policies. There are pretty good reasons for both of the ways, but let me give you more background or insights. So if you exclude all accounts individually, that's, in my opinion, the safer way how to exclude break glass accounts, because you always know that these accounts are excluded. Because there might be potentially some issues with group membership evaluation, for example. In that case, if there are issues with group membership evaluation on the Microsoft side, you might not be able to use the break glass accounts because only the group is excluded, not technically the break glass accounts. And if Microsoft Entra ID is not evaluate membership of the group correctly, then it means that probably the break glass accounts are technically not excluded from the conditional access policies. Also, group membership is something that potentially might be abused or changed, intentionally or unintentionally. So that's another risk related to the fact of using groups for break glass account exclusions. On the other hand, it makes it easier for you because you simply exclude one group and that's it. If you have multiple break glass accounts and you go with the way of excluding them individually, you potentially may forget some of the accounts. But I think, my opinion is that you should exclude break glass accounts individually from conditional access policies. If you decide to go the way of using groups, then there are some things that you should always do. If you decide to use groups for break glass accounts, the groups must never be synchronized from your on-prem environment. It always must be cloud-only groups. Because if you synchronize the group from on-prem environment, you create a potential lateral movement path. So if your on-prem AD is compromised, then the threat actor would be probably able to also manage membership of the local groups, which means that the threat actor would be able probably to also include, or on the other hand exclude, user accounts from the group that is used for break glass accounts. And if the threat actor would be able to put some other account to the group, then it means that the other account will be excluded from all conditional access policies, which makes it for the threat actor much easier. Then, because there will be no MFA, there will be no compliant device requirement, nothing, no restrictions at all. So it always must be a cloud group. That's the first point. It should not be a standard security group in the cloud either. It always should be something that's called a role assignable group. So if you create a new group, you see this option here. And it's very important because membership management for regular groups is not so protected. It's not protected enough, I would say, for break glass accounts. There are roles, even less privileged roles, that can manage membership of regular user groups. And there are good reasons for that. Maybe even your help desk is capable of group membership management. But it's too risky for break glass accounts. Because again, if someone is able to manage membership, intentionally or unintentionally, they may unintentionally, for instance, remove your break glass accounts from the group. You don't notice it. And then when you need to use your break glass accounts, you realize that those break glass accounts are actually not excluded from the conditional access policies any longer because someone removed the user accounts from the group. Or on the other hand, someone may add other user accounts to the group and then practically exclude the user account from all conditional access policies. So that's the reason why you should use these role assignable groups. Because role assignable groups have strict requirements on who can manage group membership. Only global administrators and privileged role administrators can manage membership of role assignable groups. And this attribute needs to be set when you create the group. It cannot be changed afterwards. So when you are creating a security group for your break glass accounts, you need to turn this on. When you turn it on, you see that the membership type is automatically changed to assigned and cannot be changed afterwards. There is no dynamic membership for this type of group, role assignable group. Also, you need to make sure that there are no owners set for the group, because owners can also manipulate with the group, which is something that we definitely don't want. And then you just put the members here, so that will be your break glass accounts. But like I said, preferred method, in my opinion, is that you select individual break glass accounts in conditional access policies. That is the safer way of excluding break glass accounts from conditional access policies. Now, let's talk about how many accounts you actually need or you should have. It depends on your organization, the size of the organization, the type of the organization, the way you work. The general rule is to have at least 2 break glass accounts. But on the other hand, I would say keep the number as low as possible. Definitely you shouldn't have something like 20 break glass accounts or so. No. In my opinion, 2 to 3 break glass accounts should be enough for any organization. But it really depends on how you work, because the ultimate goal of break glass accounts, like I've already said multiple times, is to have a way how to get access to your environment at any time. Anything that happens, and you should always be able to access the environment. which comes also to how you actually get access to those break glass accounts. Because if you have only one account and only one person in the organization knows the credentials to the account or has the FIDO2 key for the account, then it means that this one person in the organization is the potential single point of failure for your break glass accounts. What happens if the person is on vacation, the person is sick, the person is unavailable for whatever other reason? So there should be multiple ways how you can actually access your break glass accounts. So if you are, for instance, an international organization, you have branches all around the world, you shouldn't have your only one break glass account that's accessible only from the Czech Republic, for example. Because what if you have also a branch office in the US and the administrators that have access to the break glass accounts are sleeping because it's night, and you in the US need to access the environment, there is some outage, there is some problem, and you need to access the environment. You need to access the break glass accounts. So there should be multiple break glass accounts, but like I said, not too many. Now let's talk about how to secure the break glass accounts. And I have touched this already. In the past, before FIDO2 has been introduced, the only way how you could secure break glass accounts was simply by username and password, which was quite problematic because as we all know, password is not secure enough. When you need to have a secure password, it needs to be randomly generated, really long password with special characters and everything in it. And then it makes it quite complicated to actually write the password to the sign-in window when you need to actually use the account. Because the password should not be stored in any digital form. Never. Because when it's stored in a digital form, it may be stolen. Or it may not be accessible at all times. I've been in a situation where a company had break glass accounts, managed well, everything was fine, but their on-prem ID was compromised. They technically lost access to their on-prem Active Directory. And the passwords for their break glass accounts were stored in a password manager that was connected to on-prem ID. But because on-prem ID was not inaccessible, the regular admin accounts were also synchronized, which means the regular admin accounts were also not accessible. The break glass accounts were on the cloud-only domain, which was fine. So theoretically, those accounts were accessible, but the password for those accounts were stored in a credential manager or password manager that was tied to on-prem ID, and that was inaccessible. So we couldn't access the break glass accounts either, because nobody knew the password and the password was logged out in a digital password manager that was inaccessible. So it must be stored offline. You can print it out on a paper and store it at a safe place, but then becomes the struggle of actually typing the password or retyping the password to the login window. That's not the case any longer, because now we have phishing resistant authentication, specifically FIDO2, hardware FIDO2 keys that provide the highest protection for the account, but also quite simple or very simple authentication actually. Because you need only the PIN for the FIDO2 hardware key and you don't need anything else, and the PIN is just 6 digits usually. So it's super simple. You don't need to know the password. So this is the recommended way how to secure your break glass accounts. All break glass accounts should be used with FIDO2 keys. Each break glass account has its own FIDO2 key, so no shared keys with nothing else. And that's the way how you authenticate. Now, there is also the question how to actually secure those accounts, not technically, but organizationally, let's say, so that the accounts cannot be abused internally. in the organization. If you are a small organization, that's probably not the case. There will be maybe only one FIDO2 key that will be in a safe of the CEO of the organization, probably, or something like that. But if you are a large organization that have more strict requirements, then probably it's a good idea to also separate or require multiple people involved in case of you need to use the break glass account. So it could be configured or used the way that the FIDO2 key physically is located at one place. So for example, in a safe of one person, and the PIN for the FIDO2 key is managed by someone else. So then when the break glass account needs to be used, there needs to be two persons who actually agree to use the account. Then you limit the risk of abusing the break glass account internally. Because I have seen it also in the past. It was a quite small organization and they had pretty strict requirements on how they can use or when they can use their regular admin accounts. But because of the strict requirements, one IT person actually decided to use break glass accounts, one of the break glass accounts instead. Sorry. Because there were requirements such as that they need to use a compliant device, there were session restrictions, there were also location restrictions such as that the regular global admin accounts could be used only from trusted locations and so on and so on. And one administrator was not comfortable with this. The administrator wanted to use the account also from his personal computer. And so he started using break glass account because break glass account is excluded from all conditional access policies. So technically there are no requirements, no restrictions at all on break glass accounts. So it's a good idea to have also some organization security on top of the break glass accounts. All right. So always use FIDO2 key. That's the recommended way of securing break glass accounts nowadays. And also, what's very important is to strictly monitor your break glass accounts. Because there should be no activity at all normally on your break glass accounts. There should be, in general, there should be no activity at all ever on your break glass accounts. You should never need to use break glass accounts because you need to use break glass accounts only when something is seriously broken, seriously wrong. So if you use Microsoft Sentinel or if you use any other SIEM, have very strict monitoring on break glass accounts. If you use groups for break glass account exclusions, which is, like I said, not recommended, at least not, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you decide to use groups, monitor also the groups. Monitor the group membership changes. Any changes to the group should be monitored. And any activity on break glass accounts should trigger a high-risk security incident. Because, like I said, you should never use your break glass accounts. So monitoring is extremely, extremely important for break glass accounts. Because break glass accounts are excluded from all conditional access policies, that means there are no restrictions at all on those accounts. That's the reason why you should strictly monitor those accounts. All right. That's all for break glass accounts and how to protect and how to manage break glass accounts. I hope you liked it. Please share the video because there is a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of misconfigurations also regarding break glass accounts. Some organizations don't have any break glass accounts at all because they have never heard of this idea. Some organizations don't use break glass accounts correctly. So please share this video, spread the word because I think it's really, really important. Also, If you have any questions, there are comments available under the video, or contact me directly. Don't forget to follow my Cybersecurity World blog, where I regularly publish new blog articles with some tips and tricks, something that I see, that I feel like I should describe. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can find me under the name Lukas Beran. I publish some short tips regularly there as well, or reshare posts of others that I find interesting. And there is a weekly newsletter that you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and also some other platforms, where I summarize everything that happened in the past week in the world of IT and cybersecurity. To subscribe to the podcast as well. And that's really all from my side for today. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you liked it. If you are missing something, please let me know. Any tips and tricks are very welcome. And thanks again for watching this video, and see you next time.